As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork you will not get anywhere else, but we do not teach you how to rise to the occasion here, folks. We teach you how to what? Fall to your level of preparation. Make your move Monday. Make your move Monday. Second to last one of December, second to last one of the new year. So one more week, and then we got to lay out my monthly goals, what we're doing for next month, how it's going to work again. We don't do resolutions around here. What we do is goals, monthly goals, publicly set those goals, and that'll be for next week. So if you're new around here, first of all, be sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this out to anyone, in particular, business owners that are struggling, and I mean struggling with turnover and need a system, need a solid system that's going to make it so you can reduce the turnover and you can replace people and put people in place that are going to be there for the long haul, not the bullshit people that simply are there for a check every 2 weeks. That is what we do around here. All right. So the staple, one of the staples is a Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. Seeing that we are on a Monday, time for that kickoff question to happen. And as we get closer and closer to football season ending, my weekends are going to drastically change. A lot of the stuff I do is based on in the football world and teaching teamwork, teaching innovative teamwork lessons from the football world, and seeing that, again, we're towards the end of the season. I am personally diehard Redskins fan, diehard Michigan Wolverines fan. If you look at the year that those two organizations had, it's been kind of, I ain't been able to talk my shit. Just saying like that. Like I have been able to really talk my shit for the past 2 years. I ain't really been able to talk shit to the point where I ain't even feel like watching football this week. I mean, I couldn't do. I love those teams too much to even watch the shit. Plus, the other things that were going on, the other business opportunities that I had going on, it really didn't seem, it wasn't good for my mental health. Again, it's not a healthy relationship with those programs when they're, all right, so all that being said, let me get to the question. All right, all that being said, today's Make Your Move Monday kickoff question is, how do you talk about what you do? Understand me, and I'll do a deeper dive on this in the live stream in about maybe an hour, 30 minutes to an hour from this recording. But how do you talk about what you do? This is very, 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 very important. And I'll dive deeper into the details of this in the live stream a little later. But it's very important because when it comes to how you talk about what you do, it is going to be the difference between you getting a deal done and you not getting a deal done. How you talk about what you do changes the entire game, because you don't know. You can't assume. There's something that I actually learned this weekend is you can't assume you know the reason that somebody else is coming to you for business. You can't just assume you know this and assume you know that. So how you talk about what you do needs to be constantly crafted, curated, made better, understood for yourself personally, so you can allow your story to just blossom. All right. So when it comes to me, and again, how I talk about what I do, I just sort of gave you an implement of that. I sort of gave you an inkling of that at the beginning of this video, which is, again, as one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Again, title of the whole book, the whole brand is all the Move Swiftly platform, not a motivational speaker, Move Swiftly speaker, giving you a perspective on teamwork that you will not get anywhere else. Again, nobody has had the perspective on teamwork when it comes to where I played the game of football and how I interpreted the game, how I saw the game, give you the perspective of teamwork. Again, all of that is being said within the first 5 seconds. And when you ask me, hey, what do you do? And when I introduce my business to people, it's, hey, it is innovative teamwork, and one-stop shop for innovative teamwork, where I take the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and apply them to businesses and business owners, so they have a staff and/or group of employees that moves like a championship high school or youth football team. See how quickly that came out? And it's how you talk about what you do that's going to attract the right people to you. That is the difference. Not about just doing the stuff and selling the products and having this and having that. No, when you get deeper into the weeds and you understand more about communication and how important it is to constantly create, constantly craft it, constantly develop in it, whether this video gets 10 million views or whether it gets 0 views, does not matter. Your ability to continuously cater and continuously work your communication skills. Those are the things that you need to be working on, especially as we're getting into the AI world and the technology world and the way it's enhancing. It's how you talk about what you do. All right. So again, we'll do a deeper dive on this, something to think about, something. There's no right or wrong answer about this. It's just one of the things to where, are you working on it or are you not? Or are you bullshitting all day? straight up, are you working on how you talk about what you do, or are you just bullshitting on it? And that's going to be the bigger, the macro part of the question. That's going to be where we're going to put the onus on you. So all that being said, again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this out. Tune into the live stream in which I'll do a deeper dive on this main website, however, to check out, to dive deeper into all the work I do and how you can really get established when it comes to getting your staff in place and getting a proper staff in place that's going to make it so you can, focus on building profits and not, take your profits and constantly use the profits to replace staff and all that kind of stuff. MakeYourMove.com is the main website to check out for all that. MakeYamove.com, one-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one coach and one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon. All right, like I said, as I promised, as you just heard in there, here we are, MakeYourMove.com. First and foremost, before I get started today, let me reintroduce myself to anybody that may be new to my world. My name, Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 6-time published author and educator. And what I do, what I created, what you're looking at right there on the screen, it's an entire platform, entire concept that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and applying them to you business owners business owners. So you have a staff and or a group of employees that move the same way a championship high school or youth football team moves. You want that same cohesion. You want that same progress. You want that same mentality. You want that same grind. You want that same energy that championship teams move with, because they are willing to sacrifice for the betterment of the team, not for the money. There's a reason I'm harping on this point for a reason, because what we're going to discuss today is how to talk about what you do. When I talk about what I do and I explain to business owners that you will have a staff that moves like a championship high school or youth football team, I'm making sure we're sticking with high school and youth football team, because the money's not involved. You got a group of young men that are absolutely dedicated to their organizations, dedicated to what they're doing, and they're not getting paid. They're not getting paid to do it at the high school, at the youth level, and the dedication is just is even more. You have more dedication at that level than you would get at the collegiate, at the pro levels, because they're getting paid at that level, right, to do what it is they do. But at the high school and youth level, they're not getting paid. You want a staff and an organization that has the same. Obviously, you have to pay them. Yes, we know that. But you want them to have the dedication as if they're not getting paid. All right, that's the mentality that you want, and that's what we create with the whole Move Swiftly system. So again, for more information on that, it is MakeYamove.com. It's MakeYamove.com. You can go check out all the books, check out how you can now. Also, too, I got my license to be a financial advisor. So anything when it comes to how you protect your staff and protect your employees and all that kind of stuff, I'm now certified to get up in that world as well. So it's all encompassing. Everything employee development is right here on MakeYourMove.com. Just make sure you let me know what your interest is. Pick up a copy of the newest book. It's still on pre-sale. The book won't actually be ready till around March, but it's How to Be a Wintrepreneur, collection of the most impactful Medium articles. There'll be 8 clear steps in that book about how to go about being a wintrepreneur, which is pretty much just a person who has the entrepreneur mindset, but has the luxury of having a job that pays them every 2 weeks and being able to collide a job that's in alignment with your entrepreneurial vision. That's what being a wintrepreneur is all about. And again, it's one of the words, it's a word that yours truly coined. All right, go look up wintrepreneur. Nobody else is using it on the internet, but you're one and only. Okay, wintrepreneur. Yes, I took it from entrepreneur, but I added a little W in it because I'm about winning championships, baby. We're about winning championships around here, winning the whole thing. All right, so all that being said, again, MakeYourMove.com. Let's jump into today's topic, today's article, today's Make Your Move Monday kickoff question, which is, as I sort of stepped on it a little bit in the intro, it's how do you talk about what you do? All right, here, let me put this first of all, because I want to, before I even start the article, let me kind of give you a little, let me get up on the screen. All right, how you talk about what you do. All right, this is Very, very important. That takes a very high level individual, a very humble, high level individual person to really take it high. And I want to make sure I'm aligning the humbleness, the humility to know you don't know. All right, there's so many people out there, so many situations, so many verticals, and so many ways in which you can go about having conversations with people. When a person poses the question to you and they say, hey, what do you do? If you stumble on that answer, even for a moment, if you stumble on it, you will lose people within the first 2 to 3 seconds. You got to know what you do, and you got to know how to talk about what you do. And it has to come off incredibly naturally, incredibly just off the rip. You cannot bullshit this way, because you do not hear me on this point. And regular listeners, you've heard me say this on multiple occasions. I'll say it again. You do not get a second chance at a first impression. Understand, you do not, say it with me, you do not, or say I do not get a second chance at a first impression, which means with the way I think, the way I move, the way I operate, the way I move my whole brand, the way I'm carry myself, has to be that of a person with integrity, has to be in a situation in which it's going to have a leave an impression on folks that makes them want to come back for more, because you won't get everything you need out of one conversation, 2 conversations, in many cases, years of conversations, and still people don't get it. But you still have to be accelerating, and you still have to be excelling, you still have to be progressing based upon whatever your goals and your results are. So how you talk about what you do is going to be the difference between deal or no deal, as you see right there on the screen. Deal or no deal. How you talk about what you do. Hear me on today and throughout this entire week's second to last week of the year. Right, we're going to be discussing on how you talk about what you do. So let all that being said, let's just jump right into the article, and we will get things going. All right, so how you talk about what you're doing. The theme this week came from 2 days ago. I'm recording this Monday, December 22nd, 2025, and just 2 days ago, I went to a run club. It's the Champs Run Club, and I saw that they had an event out here in South Florida. And seeing that they were, if they were not sponsored by Brooks, if I didn't see it powered by Brooks, I probably would not have gone. But Brooks is a company. Actually, let me show you now. Brooks is a company that I've written about on so many. Let me show you real quick. I'm gonna show you. Let me deviate real quick. That I have talked about on multiple occasions. Let me go back a couple months, actually. July. Hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, right here. Yep. So Brooks is a company that I have spoken about on many occasions, right? Because it's a company that I know the story. I read all about the CEO and, his story, how he came up. And actually, you know what? I think I have it right in my backpack. Yes, I do. I kept it in my backpack. I'm tripping. All right, let me go back. Completely forgot I have it. Wait. Hold on. So Brooks, let me show you guys real quick. Brooks, this company right here, Jim Weber, and you see who wrote the foreword on it is Warren Buffett wrote the foreword on this book. I carry this book in my bag because it's one of my favorite books, and it talks about how the company went from how they were able to outpace. You see this, the subtitle, how Brooks outpaced Goliath competitors to lead the pack. All right, what they're referring to is how Brooks pretty much got the same profits and got the same effect as a Nike because they focus on one thing. And Nike uses, marketing to different companies or different activities. Brooks only focused on runners, and then they became just as powerful and they exist in a very competitive marketplace. So this book is something, again, as a runner, that I knew the story of. And when I saw that Champs was putting on a running event and Brooks was willing to sponsor it, I said to myself, okay, you got to be there. It's like, you got to be there. You got to be there. So that was me out there 2 days ago, create some memories. And I was telling the people, what they had like trial shoes where I could try on the Brooks. So the black ones are the ones I have that I bought, that I use every day. But the white ones right there are the ones we were able to try out during the little run. And, again, being able to be a part of it, see what the big companies do, because as I'm building my brand and building my platform, I want to one day be able to hope stuff like that. You know, you guys have heard me kind of talk about this idea of having a Move Swiftly marathon and putting on my own races and stuff like that. So all of that was just great to be a part of it and see it work out, especially with a company that I see myself as a potential partner with. And that's why it all comes down to how I talk about what I do, because when it comes to actually getting a deal done, the people at Bricks now, if I'm not mistaken, Jim Weber, he's no longer the CEO. I think there's a new leadership, but whoever is going to be taking it over, whoever's going to be around it, they're going to get an opportunity to see this footage. I can show them this footage. I can tell them these stories. I can explain these things to them, and then what starts happening, instead of it being sort of a partnership, instead of it being a sponsorship deal, now we could talk partnership, because now I could talk about how I could create profits, how we can get sales. Understand, man, listen, when it comes to Nike and Jordan, that's how this whole thing came about. This is why when it comes to how we as athletes, former athletes, think, the way Jordan, now, just so we're clear now, I'm team LeBron all day. I believe LeBron is the greatest basketball player to ever play. But whenever we're talking about the basketball player that had the most effect on the game, from a marketing and a business standpoint, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's Jordan who opened up the door for a lot of deals to be done. All right, Jordan, when he decided, whether it was him or his mother, wherever this was, when Jordan made it so he was getting a piece of the sales of every Jordan shoe that was sold, it opened the door for so many athletes to say, okay, I can learn how to sell product too. I'm not just going to be using my fame to endorse products. I'm going to learn how to sell products too, based on what it is I do. And again, that was the generation that's how Jordan changed the game completely. So that's where, for me, as former football player turned runner, you see a company like Brooks, you get inspired by this story. You, again, got the book right here. I walk around with it. It's in my backpack all the time now. So that's like, okay, cool, I got you. This is the company that you can commit to and that can get with what I'm doing, and then we can figure out ways to partner on some things. So, and it goes back to what? How do you talk about what you do? So let's jump right into the article, if that's enough backstory for now. So before I get into this week's kickoff question, I need to start with a shout out. Mr. Dre Baldwin, my guy Dre Baldwin, is someone I consider a virtual mentor, and not just someone I watch online. I've paid to be a part of, I paid to be coached by him directly. There was a point which I paid Dre to coach me directly. And one lesson he shared can change the way I move to this day. His whole thing. So just so we're clear. So actually, before I go, so it was a lesson that he gave me in terms of when he was talking to me directly via, it was a Zoom call that we were on, right? And he said to me, he goes, how you talk about what you do is the difference between getting a deal and not getting a deal. All right. He taught that lesson using his work on your game philosophy as an example. All right. So what many people don't realize now, let's do it together. If you were to look up, let me do it right now. I'm gonna do it right now with you guys. So just look up work on your game, right? Just work on your game. All right, that's a general phrase. There's no name attached to it, but you hear the phrase "work on your game." He's dominated that space. He's dominated that space. Now you look at it and you see books and you see, entrepreneur mindset, a bunch of stuff like that. But the truth is, it started off as him playing basketball and him giving advice to basketball players that wanted to go pro. And it's like, just work on your fucking game. This was his whole thing. In fact, he's actually been on my podcast and he's told the story thousands and thousands of times. I mean, the first time you buy something, this is how tight his systems are, right? First time you buy something from him, the email, you're going to immediately get an email from him showing the video in which he first said, work on your game, just randomly while he was at the gym by himself. He said, work on your fucking game. And it turned into a livelihood, a lifestyle, something that's attached to his name for the rest of his life, right? And that's what people don't understand. It started off as him teaching people how to, serving basketball players, helping them develop into professionals. So over time, it evolved into something bigger, framework for entrepreneurs, now used to build systems, sharpen execution, and hit long-term goals. That evolution mattered to me because it mirrored my own. Again, based on everything I just told you, former athlete, now as a thought leader and, has intellectual property. Obviously, seeing him, how he did it and seeing how his work is, it's like, okay, how do I align it with what it is I'm doing? And it was him that taught me, hey, take the move swiftly framework, take the whole concept about, using innovative teamwork, using football to teach business owners how to build their teams, use that as a way of packaging that and then sell that to business owners. So that was me being paying and humbling myself to get coached by someone who's already done it. All right. So and that's what I mean when I say, how do you talk about what you do? So from framework to leverage. So Dre was the first person who advised me to stop overcomplicating my message. Told me to take swiftly. Again, I already kind of said this, but I'm going to read it directly from the article. He told me to take the swiftly framework I created, my innovative approach to teamwork, discipline, and leadership, and use it as leverage, not vibes, not motivation, leverage. That meant hosting workshops, running professional development sessions, working directly with business owners. Fast forward to now, I'm officially a licensed agent, and the number of services I can offer business owners has expanded significantly. That sounds great on paper. In reality, the first few calls did not go well. So here's what inspired today's theme and this week's theme and today's Move Swiftly thought. All right. As I just last week, or about a week and a half ago now, approaching 2 weeks now, I recently became licensed when it comes to becoming a financial advisor. I can advise people, just regular people, on how to make better decisions with their money, how to invest in annuities, endowments, and life insurance, and all that kind of stuff. So officially passed the exam to do that, which was a huge deal. I mean, it was, listen, again, me personally, multiple choice tests and having to do that bullshit. I hate it. I hate every second of having to do it. I hate it. But I thank God I passed it, and now I'm officially licensed to, advise owners, especially business owners, on how to make better decisions with their profits, how to, include them in group insurance, and how to protect their staff, protect their employees, all those kinds of things. I'm officially licensed to do that now, which obviously helps buffer my offer, helps create opportunities for the things that I was offering before, right? Now, this week, again, I passed the test about a week ago, but throughout this week, I've reached out to some former colleagues and some people that I had already known and failed miserably. Now, when I say failed miserably, it's a tough word to say failed miserably, because you never want to say you failed when you've been able to catch up with people that you've done business with before. It was great conversation, but when I say failed, meaning the way I was talking about what I did was off. And it's common because, again, you're talking to people that you've known for years. You want to catch up on how this is doing, how that's going. So this is why whenever you start something new, whenever the endeavor is, you're better off going after people that you don't know, at least to start, so that way you can go back to the people that you do know, and then you can explain it, in a way that moves you from personal relationship to professional relationship. Again, this is all professional and self-development, which is the things I teach. I couldn't teach this stuff if I wasn't going through it myself, right? So anyway, what ended up happening was I reached out to some people, and I remember getting on the phone again. We're referring to her as Pocahontas for the time being. Not allowed to say her real name until she gives me her permission to reveal her name online. She knows who she is, though. But anyway, as I was explaining to her who was the one who introduced me to the business, I was explaining to her some of the ways that the calls went, or the conversations went that I had with people. She had advised me, hey, look, you mentioned this, you shouldn't have said that, you should have asked that. And she was really being like the Dre Baldwin in terms of coaching me up and teaching me, hey, this is the way you talk about the business, and this is the way you do this. In fact, just this past Saturday, we were at an event. And I had a guest, and I remember talking to it was both of our mentors. I don't want to put any names out there now because I don't have permission, but it was our mentor, the person that has coached us up over the past couple of weeks in terms of how to create this. And I was telling him about my guest and what I think he might do or may not do. And he looks at me and goes, look, man, you don't want to assume. You don't want to assume that you know what they're going to want to do or how they're going to want to work this in certain ways and stuff like that. And he was completely right, because the person that I had come as a guest this past Saturday, I spoke to him on the phone yesterday, and he was eager to hear more and, wanted to chat more and tell. So I was like, man, he's right in terms of me not assuming what it is I'm doing. And all of this is working within. And it was in that same conversation, actually, where he told me, look, when people ask me, what do I sell? He looks at me and goes, look, I sell nothing because I don't. It's all teaching. It's all teaching mindset. I will advise you and move you in the right direction by showing you the numbers. But how I talk about what I do is not that of a person that's just selling something to anybody. It's that of a person that's advising you the same things that I wish someone would have advised me to do years ago, and I'd be in a completely different situation had I known these things existed. That's all you're doing. And when you approach with that mindset, you're like, okay, you're not selling anything. You're advising people to make better decisions with the money that they're already earning. It's on them. It's on them to either make the decisions. It's either on them to make those decisions or not. But you can't hold yourself accountable. You can't carry the weight of somebody else making terrible decisions with their money. You have to know how to make better decisions with your money and move from that place. All right. So that, I know I went on a tangent there, but why I failed, and I'm glad, but I'm sort of going to explain exactly everything I explained. I'm going to have it in written form. So the reason I always go with these articles is because I myself know myself. I can get on several tangents and start talking and stuff like that. So these articles just keep me from going on too many tangents here. So why I failed and why I'm glad I did. I started calling people, and I already knew from past endeavors, big mistake, not because they were bad people, but because my language wasn't ready. Hear me, my language wasn't ready. The way I talked about what I was doing with wealth builders wasn't properly formed. I was mixing old versions, new credentials, half explained ideas. The result, confusion. Right. So right here, let me pause it right here on this point. When you mix an old version of yourself with new credentials and half explained ideas, the result is confusion. And hear me closely, write this down somewhere or mental note it. Confused people do not buy. Confused people do not buy. Confused people do not buy. So when you are out there and you're talking business and you're trying to get your product sold and you're trying to, work whatever angle you're working, if you're confusing folks based on what it is you do, they will not buy what you do. All right. You cannot confuse folks. You cannot confuse folks. Everything has to be sharp, solid, off the cuff. All right. But here's the win. That was about a week ago. In that short time, I contacted many more people, whether it is a message or whether it is me reaching out to somebody based on something that they posted, whatever, all sorts of ways of getting in touch with people these days and making it very short and sweet. I got someone to attend last week's meeting and had people ask for live recordings and more information. What changed? I stopped leading with insurance and I stopped leading with wealth builders. Instead, I led with self and professional development. If that doesn't move someone, if I go to you, so we'll just put it out there now, and I'll explain it to you now. If I go to someone right now, if I go walk up on a total stranger and approach a total stranger and say, hey, would you be interested in hearing more about professional and self-development? And they tell me to go fuck off, I am happy to. I'm 1000% happy to. Because if the words self and professional development do not move you at this stage of my life, I don't want you around. I don't want you around if the words self and professional development don't move you to action, don't trigger something, don't make you want to hear more, don't make you believe. If you do not get moved by self and professional development, you can go on and move on with whatever it is you're doing in your life, because you won't fit into my world. You won't fit at all. There's no place for people in my world that aren't moved by professional and self-development. Period, point blank, end of sentence. All right. That's why I put a hard stop to it. So when I started moving with that energy, when I started moving on that time, the clarity changed everything. So the question now turns the question that turns everyone into a prospect. All right. So again, this week's Make Your Move kickoff question is simple. How do you talk about what you do? How do you talk about what you do? So when it comes to me, and I'm answering the question as a way of modeling how to answer, or modeling for you how to develop this skill, because it is a skill that needs to be developed. For me personally, when it comes to talking about what I do, I am always leading with professional and self-development. You hear me say it every single day on YouTube. MakeYourMove.com, your one-stop shop for all your teamwork and self-development needs. Teamwork and self-development needs. Pretty much, again, professional self-development. If that is not a world, if those are not words that move you, you can keep it moving. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. And it goes back down to what?
How do you talk about what you do? So to practice this question long enough, you practice this question every single morning, every single night, every single moment of the day. You practice this question. How do I talk about what I do? How do I talk about what I do? Is it coming out clearly? Is it coming out in a way that's believable to me? Because if you haven't believed it, if you haven't sold yourself, if you haven't made it to where you believe it yourself, you will not let any damn body to believe in what you do. Period, point blank, end of sentence. Practice this question long enough and everyone becomes a prospect. Practice this question long enough, everyone becomes a prospect. I'm repeating it. I want to make sure it sinks in and hits home. Practice this question long enough and everyone will become a prospect. Not because you're pitching them, but because you're clear. Let me show you what that looks like. And again, I sort of talked about it a little bit when it came to Brooks, but I'll reiterate here in the article, and then I'll close you guys out soon. So a sponsor versus a partner. Language matters. All right. So this past, again, I spoke about this earlier, but this is now in the written format. So this past Saturday, I signed up for a free run club hosted by Champ Sports. Why did I show up? Because the listed sponsor was Brooks Running. Right here. Again, all the information. I remember buying this book. Was at a Barnes and Noble. I didn't plan on buying a book, but I saw this and I said, look, I gotta have it. I got to have it. All right. It's right here. So so because a listed sponsor was Brooks Running. The word sponsor caught my attention. A few months ago, I wrote an article about Brooks as a partner, not a sponsor. In this piece, Entrepreneur Wednesday, Jim Weber, the power of purposeful focus, that distinction matters. A sponsor gives money based on visibility and fame, not guaranteed, no guaranteed ROI. So let me just again clarify some things for you. Now I'll do a deeper dive on this tomorrow when we talk about the top 5 ways to talk about something. But sponsor, okay. Let's say I'm actually doing this at a Starbucks. So let's say Starbucks wants to sponsor. Say they want to sponsor the Seattle Seahawks. They sponsor the Seattle Seahawks by putting an advertisement on the scoreboard at the Seattle Seahawks stadium. There's no ROI in that. There's no guarantee that all the people looking at the scoreboard that see this, that may or may not see the Starbucks logo, there's no guarantee that that's going to make them, or no way of showing that's going to make them go to Starbucks and buy coffee. That's not, again, there's no guaranteed ROI, but that's what a sponsor does with anything that's famous, right? Now, a partner has a way to show, has a say in how value and profit are created. They share the upside. Philosophy also appears in chapter. So again, this philosophy also appears in the chapter I wrote in the 6-Figure Athlete NIL, the NIL stuff that I was really heavily involved in about a year and a half ago, because partnership thinking scales far beyond sports. If you want to read it, it's available here. Again, 6-Figure Athlete. This is the book I did with 10 other authors. And it's the book I did with all these authors, and everybody but Kendra has been on the podcast. Everybody but Kendra. So I've had all these people on my podcast except Kendra. Kendra, I'm waiting on you. We got to make sure we catch up, right? So again, Taj is my former teammate of mine and stuff like that. So it was a great project, and definitely fits into what it is we're doing now, what I'm doing now. So again, we talked about the difference between sponsorship and partnership. So anyway, why Brooks is a natural partner for me. That day of the event, I said it out loud. And again, you can go make sure you comment, subscribe, and share this stuff so you can go and check my receipts. I explained why I make a strong partner for Brooks. I recorded numerous videos post-run, like after every single day. I take my run and then I record a video right after the run to capture those endorphins, capture that feeling that you get right after a run. And it's one of the hooks and the things that attracts people to me versus, somebody just sitting there and just talking shit, right? That was one of the staples. So I've sold running shoes before. I had a brief stint in Lady Foot Locker while I was working at LA Fitness and I was trying to connect it to that experience taught me how performance, product, lifestyle, and all that stuff interact. So given what I'm building now, I can confidently solicit a partnership, not of height, but because of alignment. And all that traces back to one thing. How do I talk about what I do? So again, final thought. This is a process. I want to make sure I'm clear. I don't want to simplify this for you guys. This is all a process. All right. None of this is easy stuff. You have to live a lot of life to go about, thinking and talking like this. This is a process. Your message will not be perfect on day one. Mine damn sure wasn't. It's not perfect now. It never is, because you don't know who you're going to be talking to and what kind of pushback and what questions they're going to ask. So it's never going to be perfect, but you have to, go about it understanding it will not be perfect and adjust based on what you see. So if you keep refining how you explain your work, what you actually do, who it's for, and why it matters, the clarity compounds. So tomorrow, make sure you tune in. Tomorrow, we'll break down the top 5 ways to talk about what you do. There's a process and there's a way of thinking about it. There's a way of doing it, in which breaks down all of the elements. And we're going to break down those tomorrow on Top 5 Tuesday. So make sure you comment, liking, subscribe, and sharing this out to anybody that needs to hear it. All right. All that being said, again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I do, everything employee development. It's makeymove.com. That's MakeYeMove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crook Jenk, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.